You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Supernatural Chat Show with your host, Sean Cadman, only on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to another instalment of the Supernatural Chat Show. It's me, your host, Sean Cadman. Well, tonight we've got the tables turned a little bit here. This guy tonight, I've been interviewed, I think, 2 or 3 times by himself on his radio show. It's the one and only Tom Warrington. How are you, Tom?
Good evening, Sean. And,
good evening, mate.
Do you know what? It's so peculiar to be sat here in the office and being on another show. Actually, it's just so surreal, and I've been really nervous actually today. To be fair, do you know what? I've been scrolling. My work colleagues have been saying to me, "What the bloody hell are you doing with your pad?" And I've been just scrolling notes all day, thinking, "Christ, what the hell's he going to say to me?" But no, thank you once again. It's a great honour to be welcomed onto your show, and I hate to say it, but like I said to me, I've not heard your show. Oh, please don't hate me.
That's no problem.
I feel so bad because I said to myself I must listen to some of his shows, and I do tell my guests on my show to do the same. So oh God, but no, thank you ever so much for having me on. It's a great honour.
Thanks for coming on, mate. Thanks for coming on. I say it's very strange. I'm all used to being interviewed, and now it's all the opposite way around.
It's surreal.
It's very weird. I think most of the people listening probably know a bit of your background, but just tell those that don't a little bit about yourself, what got you interested in the paranormal and everything else.
Sure, yeah. I mean, well, I'm going to turn the clock back now and going to go many years back, probably over 20 years now. And I think it all started off really for me when I got given a book. As most of my guests who are probably listening tonight started off with a literacy kind of adventure. It was a book given for me from my uncle. A bit of a strange gift to give a 9-year-old, really. And it was a book, a case book actually, Strange But True. And the main sort of case that was in this book was the Enfield poltergeist, and I'm sure many of your listeners are quite familiar with this. It totally opened up a new world for me. It really did. And saying that, not just for me, but my family and friends, because they were kind of not familiar with the paranormal. I suppose going back in time, the paranormal was kind of a taboo subject, not like it is today, where it's kind of more accepted and kind of dealt with in a certain way, as we do nowadays. But yeah, the book kind of really escalated things for me and was a catalyst. as such. And I'll never forget, I think it was a couple of weekends forward from actually reading the case book from Maurice Gross and Guy Lona Playfair. I just got on my bike, got a group of friends, we got some walkie-talkies together, and I live in Lincolnshire, which is very flat. I live in a lot of fenland. So there's not a lot of houses, but there's a lot of priories. There's a lot of castle ruins. So the ghost stories kind of in our area go hand in hand with where I live. The funny thing is, I used to go round, not now, I must add, I used to go round and knock on people's houses and say, excuse me, is your house haunted? And, I got some really interesting remarks. Some people shouting all sorts at me, tend to get off the land, a few farms and such. But then again, some people actually took the time out and invited into the house and said, yes, we have a ghost. Would you like to hear the stories? And I think from then on, it kind of spawned into something that's kind of taken over my life, really, unfortunately. My poor family have been suffering with the paranormal. They don't like the paranormal. They think that, it's a load of hocus pocus. But I think nowadays, like I mentioned a minute ago, it's more accepting for people to kind of, I don't know, try and understand that there is something other than, the moral high ground that we have today. I think truly, I believe that there's no question in my mind that people do experience phenomena that we can't explain. Now, I'm not saying that it's a ghost and it's not your Auntie Ada coming back from the dead, but I believe that people do experience things and they see apparitions, but what it is, I still don't know. And I'm sure listeners out there are still trying to search for the answer as well. But going back to your original... Sorry, Sean, I went off on a tangent there. But
That's
going back to your question, it started off with a book, basically, which my weird uncle gave to me. So there you go.
I mean, like you just mentioned, people, we don't know what's out there. We don't know actually really what we are looking for. We know it's some form of energy. But do you think that at some point somebody somewhere will come up with definite proof that spirit ghosts exist?
This is really weird because we mentioned this on last week's my show last week, Pure Paranormal Radio Show. Shameless plug there, Sean. Sorry. We mentioned this last week, and it's very intriguing because I think the paranormal is like a dangling carrot for us. The humanity at the minute is on a tipping balance, and I think we're destroying the planet. The human race as such is quite shameful, I believe. And I think to have definitive proof, I don't think personally we are ready or to ever be ready to accept the fact there is life after death. I just don't think we can grasp the concept of something that's not normal. So going back to your question, I don't think we'll ever have that definitive proof, to be fair. I really don't. And if someone does, I mean, there was a group that put some footage of 30 East Drive with a pram falling down the stairs. It got ripped to pieces, Sean, Yeah. And I think that's the state of the paranormal field at the minute in the paranormal community. We're very... And I've been in the same boat. I've been very quick to judge sometimes. But that's just the human mind, isn't it? It's having labels that we have to process meanings to. That doesn't help. Social media doesn't help, I don't think, at the minute for the paranormal. To be fair, I hate social media. I use social media to promote my shows. That's about it, really. But I don't think they're doing much good for the paranormal because you are reaching out to a phenomenal amount of people at a touch of a button. Okay, so unfortunately there are. Can I swear on it or not?
Mildly.
There are buggers that out there that will kind of rip people to pieces for no reason, and I just don't think we're ready for the the breaking information or evidential proof that we mostly yearn today. So no.
That's one of my theories, is why you don't see, compared to going back probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, all the teams and investigation groups would be posting photos and videos, EVP, you name it, it was all over Facebook.
Yeah.
Some fantastic stuff. It just seems to have died down now. My theory on that is the fact that people put something up and it just gets absolutely ripped apart.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and this goes to me saying, I mean, the one thing I've learned, and I know Jason Day mentioned that he hates people go banging on about how many years people have been in the paranormal, but you know, I've been involved in the paranormal for many years. There you go, Jason. I did it correctly. To learn that, I think the fundamental fact is to kind of respect each other, and no matter what, you know, kind of direction they're going in, and you know, sometimes you think, Christ, why have you put that picture up? Or just at the end of the day, please respect what you're saying and please respect what you're doing. But at the minute, it's very hard because of the social media aspect, because you've got your Facebook Lives now. I mean, loads of groups are doing that. You know, it's broadened the horizon even more, and I think it's just it's opened the floodgates for people to just contradict and to scorn at people and to make fun out of. And I mentioned earlier, going back from when I started the paranormal, it was very taboo. I think it's going back in that direction now, because people, like you mentioned, putting pictures up and stuff, and they're neutral people who are taking an interest for the first time, bear in mind, in the paranormal, and they're seeing all these comments on pictures and in groups. I think just puts people off, and it paints a black mark on the paranormal. I really do think that. And for people like yourself and me who have been in it for a while, we kind of overlook that. But for people just joining into the paranormal realm, it must be horrifying. It does upset me. I must admit, it does upset me, because I get messages, I get emails. Who's the best group to go with? Who's the best? And I haven't got the answers for that. I just think you need to open your mind. You know, go to loads of events. Don't just stay to one group. I think that is key. But you know, I think we're going backwards, really.
I think the same. Just watching Facebook day after day after day, it's like, say, everything seems to be going in reverse. Instead of progressing the field, it just seems to be going backwards all the time, and nothing but arguments and people just not getting on. It's like, why can't we all get on? We're doing the same thing.
I think it's again not just social media, but the media as well. I mean, every day the Daily Mirror puts up a ghost picture up, and the Sun newspaper puts a video up. It's all out there, but it's hard for people, like I mentioned earlier, as a neutral who is just coming into the paranormal and is taking a first interest to it. It must be so difficult. I never had that at the start. All I had was literature. All I had was Skyline and Playfair's books. All I had was Harry Price. I didn't have any internet then. And when I did, it made a noise, modem. So I never had all these Facebook groups, and I just think sometimes sod all that, come out of that, and start from scratch. Start researching your group. Go to your local spiritualist church. That was another thing I started doing. That was great. I met some really nice people who were on the same bar as me, you know, with regards to the interest they had. Go see people in face to face. I think that is key. It's very easy for me and you, Sean, to say, Christ, Zach Bagans' Demon House film was crap. But, you know, it's so easy for us to do that at a touch of a button, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
But we don't know how that was created. or the circumstances. I just think it's all smoke and mirrors at the minute.
That's, I mean, when I actually sit and think about it, I was probably ghost hunted, for want of a better term, longer before social media than I've been since social media.
Well, there you go. So sure, on the other foot then, Sean, do you think that it was a better place than it was before with regards to your ghost hunting? So take away the social media, did you find it more of a advantage for yourself, gaining knowledge and things like that, or?
I think partly, in a way, yes. Another part was there wasn't the clamour for venues like there is. You could go to many places back then and they'd just let you in. I mean, just 2 or 3 of us, we used to have the old Hi8 camcorder. You'd turn up, go in, you'd find your knowledge from books and things. Mm-hmm. And like I said, anybody new coming into the field these days, straight onto social media, trying to find anything out and any knowledge. There's that many different opinions on, for example, what a shadow figure is thrown at. They don't know whether they're coming or going. Whereas when we started, you read it in a book, and that was that. It was quite simple. You got your knowledge quite easily. But these days, I think it's very confusing for people.
And I think with that as well, I think the way, I'm sure we're going to talk about it tonight, but I mean, ghost hunting equipment as well. I think, crikey, where do I start? I think we're being led away from kind of, the best ghost detector that we have is as a self. That is the God's honest truth. Yeah. And I think the way the paranormal is going, it's so high tech now. We don't know what we're actually measuring, or I mean, it's fine to have an EMF reader and so forth, but what does that tell us? Well, I mean, I don't know. It must be so difficult, and I think with a lot of groups I've seen as well, they're trying too hard. Like myself, I had my own group many moons ago, and I had all the equipment you can bloody name. I had the lot, but it was one day, and I thought, what? It's not really making me progress as an investigator. So I went back to basics. That's what I've done. I am a sole investigator now. I do attend public ghost hunts, and that's through the invitation of some amazing groups out there, and I absolutely love it. But my sole purpose is to kind of look back at historical cases and kind of piece together correlations within temperatures and sightings and things like that. Yeah. That's what I'm about. I think the groups nowadays are kind of losing touch with all this. Yeah. And they're all kind of worried about how many hits I've got, how many likes I've got, how many people are listening, and it's not their fault. It's social media and media. Because it's quite easy to get your 5 minute of fame. Just buy a doll off eBay, say it's bloody haunted, and go on the show.
And you're sorted, yeah.
Oh, exactly.
It's like you say with the equipment, the latest gadget comes out and people have got to have it to be seen to have it. But I went through the phase. I got all this equipment. You get through an investigation. It took me an hour and a half to unpack everything. Yeah. And I sat there one day and I thought, what does all this crap actually tell me? Nothing. It's all guesswork. Mm-hmm. None of it's proven. So all that went back on eBay and back to basics.
Well, it's funny you should say that. I'll tell you a story now. Now, I went to a ghost hunt many moons ago, and I was part of it. I hope they're bloody not listening, but here we go. There were a local group in my area. And they invited me along, and they invited me to be a team leader. It's one of the stepping stones I had. And what blew me away was not the fact of, oh my God, this is an amazing location. It was actually Nottingham Town Hall. And it took the team roughly about 2.5 hours to set the CCTV up. Yeah. Bear in mind, public have paid for this event. the public were mulling around in the, I don't know whether your listeners have heard of Nottingham, but so there's a big kind of main dance hall there. They were just mumbling around kind of thing for about 2.5 hours. They finally set up, and before you knew it, that was the end of the night. And yeah. I just thought, what the hell? What's the bloody point? You know?
Yeah.
Bear in mind, I'm not dissing any equipment, but I just think sometimes we need to go back to the start. I think we need to go back to the Harry Price ways, you know, with the flour on the floor and the string and the Tamsil proofs. I don't know. I just think we're getting too far ahead of ourselves and too reliant on flashing LEDs.
Yeah. People have lost the art of sitting in the corner of a room in the pitch black with a voice recorder on the floor and just talking.
Exactly. And I think you'll find if you look back at some groundbreaking cases that, funnily enough, most of these things happen in the day. Yeah. And there's not many groups that go ghost hunting in the day, which is quite shocking, really, because, like I say, if you look back at some cases of groundbreaking cases, they happen in the day. Apparitions are, well, I hate the label apparition, I hate the label ghost, I hate the label poltergeist, because they're just things that we use to kind of process a meaning of. And let's be honest, the paranormal we don't understand, and will we ever understand? I don't know.
I mean, I was during the daytime when you're walking through, example, around Nottingham city centre, how do you know that probably 5% of the people that you see walking around aren't spirit? Exactly.
And bless Stephen Hawkins, to his last dying breath, he was working on a subliminal dimension, a parallel universe as such. And, you know, that got me thinking, you know, what if Stephen Hawkins is one of the greatest brains of people ever. This guy is very passionate about, you know, dimensions other than ours. And I think now a lot of ghost sightings are probably interdimensional. So they're probably happening on another plane, but they kind of coincide with our reality as such. And I found some of his work quite fascinating. And I think paranormal investigators need to look at people like that, because we are trying to push the paranormal to be scientific. And at the minute, the way a lot of people are going, we're not helping the situation. No. There are a handful of groups out there that are doing amazing stuff. One of which, Parasites. If your listeners want to check that out, Parasites, Steve Parsons, he is the gold standard of ghost hunters. He is phenomenal. He does amazing things. One of his cases went on for about four years. Liverpool docks, which claim to have many ghosts. He did investigations for about 4.5 years. Now that is a proper investigation, and he collated all that information. He put it out there, and you know he did it in a way that was scientific. And I think we need to start doing that, because let's be honest, and I'm sure some of your listeners are hearing this. You know, I don't think we're doing enough to push our field into the direction of scientists, because what's his name? Oh God, what's something Cox?
Oh yeah, I know. Brian Cox.
Brian Cox, yeah, totally poo-poo the paranormal. Fair enough, he's an intelligent guy, but like Steve Parsons says, it's like, where's your findings? Where's your reasoning? And do you know what? He never come back to him. It's very quick and easy for people to poo-poo everything, isn't it?
Oh, of course it is, yeah.
But, you know, you've got to have the backing of groups. At the minute, it's not happening.
No. I mean, it's like the dimensional thing that you said. I mean, I remember a few weeks ago, I did an investigation at the Victorian School in Long Eaton with John Blackburn and Maxine.
Oh, yes.
walking, they were all off in the rooms. I was on my own, walking down the main corridor, and something pushed past me. Felt it, somebody walk into me, and I sort of put my torch on, looked round. I thought, well, if I just caught, there's nothing there for me to catch myself on. I'm like, well, that was it. Then I sat down for 5 minutes, and my brain went off on one then, and I thought, what if that was me in another dimension, ghost hunting at that same venue, walking the opposite way? I walked into myself.
That's amazing. Well, yeah, but you laugh, but it's a possibility, and I think that Stephen Hawking was trying to get at. We are not one. We are not one dimension. There's probably several, if not thousands, of dimensions that are interlinking with us today, and I truly believe that a lot of ghost sightings are that, you know. And same with the thought transference thing that I'm quite strongly reading up about now, Sean, is the spirits, or whatever you want to call it, is actually projecting their image into your mind, and the observer is projecting from their brain outwards. So they think they're seeing an apparition, where in fact the apparition is projecting it into their mind. So you've got another scenario where is the ghost kind of a tangible thing or a mental thing, you know? But hey, are we ever going to know this, Sean? Am I getting too deep, or
Definitely not. I mean, that's just made me think along the line, like when you've got a big group on an investigation, all stood in the room, and somebody goes, "Did you hear that?" And then I'll be like, "I did." How many of them people actually heard that, or was that because somebody reacted, everybody reacted?
There was a very famous case, actually, and it was with the Canadian SPR, and they actually did a number of seances, and I've actually got the literature up here. I'm just looking at my bookshelf now if I can try and grab it, but they basically concocted a person, okay, and they projected the ghost, and they had rappings, they had table tipping, and they projected this facade of a person. So that in itself just shows how powerful the human mind is, and it's very it's very easy for us to say, "Oh, we've seen something," but we don't really fully understand the human brain. Okay, so it's very difficult for us paranormal enthusiasts to kind of give evidence or, photography or things like that. It's very hard to define as saying, well, that actually was there. Well, was it? We don't know, do we? It's very hard. The human mind is crazy, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you touched there on table tipping. What's your thoughts on parlor games, as they call them, table tipping, Ouija board, seances, etc.?
I used to love them, and I still do today. I please don't send me the hate mail, but me and my children actually play the Ouija board because they love it. They find it entertaining. You could probably get more harm being hit over the head by a Ouija board than actually summoning the spirit, but that's another show. I love it. I think they're very entertaining. I think they're used on public events purely for entertainment. I actually did see something very interesting. I was invited to the Coronation Hall in Mundersley with East Anglia Paranormal Investigations, and something that they did I thought was quite intriguing when they blindfolded the sitters. Okay, so it kind of takes away the half and half the ideomotor effect, where the observer can see the letters. Okay, but they actually blindfolded the sitters and they actually turned the board around. Which I found very fascinating because they were getting they were getting the same answers as they did when they were observing. Not exactly the same, but they were getting different answers, but it was still spelling out, which I found mind blowing because I've always been led to believe, it's the the muscles subconscious moving the planchette or whatever, the table. But to see that, you're kind of taking away the adverse effect of that, and I found that very intriguing. And I have experienced some phenomenal things with table tipping, where I've been on private cases where they've actually literally toddled down the hallway, things like that. I can't explain that. I can't explain it, but I think they're being used as a bit of a showman piece nowadays. Especially with public events. It's fantastic to get up a massive Ouija board that glows in the dark, cooks your tea at the same time, and you're well away. No, they're great pieces, and it's something the Victorians used predominantly throughout their era, and paved the way for spirituality. So
very good. I love all these different aspects on everything that people come up with. Let's change up a little bit then. TV programs, mate.
Oh, God.
Do you think TV programs, in their own way, have got a place within the paranormal?
No. Sure, no. Crikey, if Barry's listening, he's going to be cringing there. Where do I start with TV? I tell you what, when a program I watched when I was little, which was a fake thing, and I had Stephen Volk, who was one of the writers for the show, was Ghostwatch on a Halloween in 1992. Now, that kind of sparked it all off. It really did. There wasn't many programs around that time that kind of highlighted the paranormal, especially a poltergeist case. And bear in mind, as Stephen said, he had Maurice Grosse and Guy Lana Playfair to write the show. Some people don't know that. And they modelled it on the Enfield Haunting. Now, programs like that, they honestly, after the show, and some of your listeners, if you don't know what Ghostwatch is, Google it. It's amazing. Yeah, it's really good. I won't spoil it, but I think the whole TV thing is it's too. Oh God, I've got to be very careful here. I can't really say it because I just think. There's no TV show that reflects a true paranormal investigation to this day. I don't think there's been one. Apart from, actually, there's one, it's funny, one that Parasites did, Steve Parsons, and he was filmed for Japan. And he had a film crew from Japan following around a castle in Wales, which I found brilliant because he was trying his best to kind of conduct an investigation. And they were waiting for bangs and chairs to be flown over and stuff like that, But I think, who wants to see a proper investigation on TV? It's not entertaining, let's be honest. I find paranormal investigations a bit like fishing. You get a few bites, but you could be sat there for bloody days, if not weeks, if not months. And people, they just want entertaining. I think that's the era that we're in at the minute, is to be entertained. So, I tend not to watch TV.
Give them a wide berth.
Oh, yes.
A question for you in the chat room off Kaz Rooney. She says, what's been Tom's most memorable paranormal experience?
Oh, God. Okay. There's two. And I've not had many because I'm a psychic as a brick, so I'm not psychic at all. I'm very open-minded. I was quite a serious investigator, but I think through time now I've kind of opened myself up, especially doing my radio show and things like that. Okay, the first instance was a private investigation many moons ago in a place called Aby. Near Louth in Lincolnshire. It was a private case. I set up a camera in an upstairs children's playroom. I can't remember off the top of my head. It ran for hours. Nothing. I was trawling back through the footage as we all do. nothing happened. And all of a sudden, as clear as day, I got a lady humming a nursery rhyme, and it wasn't just any nursery rhyme. It was one of those old Victorian nursery rhymes that I had to Google, and I did actually match it up, and I can't think for the life of it. In fact, I'll put it on your Facebook page or something for the listeners to hear. But
yeah,
it was. I'll tell you what. To this day, it still sends chills down me. Because there was no one in the room, there was one camera in there was no toys, there was nothing that could create that noise, and it was a lady humming a nursery rhyme. And it was so apt because the children, the family were complaining of some visitation of a lady, a quite bolshy lady, and it kind of all fitted in, but it was just incredible to hear this sound. Can you remember, Sean, the old DVR discs? It was like the Sony cameras, the little mini CDs. So it was on that, and it was a brand new disc. Before you all start shouting, it was an old disc, and you can't really overlap information on that. But hey ho! But yeah, it happened, and it was amazing. And I've got about 80 copies of that now, sure, because I do not want to lose that, because I don't know what that was. And for the life of me, wow, it was amazing. But yeah, no, that was one of them. The second one actually was very recent, and it was with North Notts Ghost Hunts, and it was at Derby Jail. And it was possibly the best audio I've ever heard, and that is a big statement for me, because I get sent a lot of stuff with regards to emails and EVPs, and this guy had caught a phenomenal piece of audio in one of the condemned cells. Have you been, Sean, and Derby Jail?
Yes,
sure,
yeah.
I think it's the middle one, and oh my goodness me! And I'm sure if he's listening tonight, I have got the audio, and I'm sure he won't mind me sharing it. So if you let me know where I can share it, everyone can listen to it. It was incredible, and Richard Felix nearly fell off his stool.
Yeah, I've heard that myself, that piece of audio.
It was phenomenal. But that's about it. Over 20 years. Am I doing something wrong, really? I don't know. I'm not getting EVPs every day, unfortunately.
It is difficult to get evidence that blows you away. Stuff you get, you think, yeah, that's all right. But like I say, that not what Brett and his team caught.
So you did hear it then?
I've heard it, yeah. It's fantastic. That is.
Goodness me, yeah.
Definitely. Scrolled back down. Maxine asked a question earlier on.
Oh, hi, Maxine.
With another revelation today in the paranormal community, do you think when recruiting new team members there should be CBR checks?
Oh, I'll tell you what. This was highlighted to me this evening, actually, and I was really upset, and I've not really told the wife, because it's really heartbreaking, because there's a lot of events out there that cater for the. Can I really say it? But it's hard, and I think nowadays we should bring in some sort of screening. Definitely, 100%, Maxine. It should happen. It should happen now. Especially with groups as well, not just because of that, but because of teams that are in it for a wrong reason. They're not there for what we're doing. Yeah, totally agree, Maxine. It should happen, but the thing is, who's going to police the police? Because that argument will happen, but we should come to that. And I think we all need to get together, our heads together, and create some sort of, it sounds awful, but a council of such, or a panel, or a screening. It needs to happen, because there's been a massive explosion of paranormal groups, paranormal investigators. It's so easy to make a Facebook account and say, I'm a paranormal investigator, let me join your team. It's too easy. Yeah. It's too easy, I'm sorry. But, I think teams need to be aware of this. I think, especially again with the private cases, you need to be careful what you let yourself in for. It's very, very difficult. It's not the paranormal field is not controlled. It should be controlled now because of what's been happening. But I'm not the one to conduct this, put it that way. But yeah, no, Maxie's totally right. She's hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, it's like you say. I mean, who's going to police the police? The British Paranormal Association, bless their hearts, they had a go, and it just seems such a difficult field to govern. It's needs it. There's no question that it needs after that today. Yeah, it needs something doing. I mean, it really saddened me. I was so buzzing today, and then I saw that, and I just thought, wow, is this what it's all come to? And imagine if a neutral was seeing this, again, like I mentioned earlier, not just because of groups pissing about, but for something extreme as that, how does that make us all look? What are we doing to sort this out? We're doing nothing. So I think now is the time to stand up and kind of push away people who disagree with it, and let's do it, because it's going to happen time and time and again. Unfortunately, if we don't, builders have checks. They are plumbers have gas safe certificates. Why can't paranormal people be the same? Yeah. Certificate of competence and everything else, and there needs to be some way of bringing in some rules and regulations that people have to abide by to hire venues, hold events and do private investigations.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. I totally agree. And my friend Jordan Brooks, he highlighted me to the fact that one of the locations that he loved and so many did shut the doors on paranormal groups because there was some idiots ruin it for everyone else. And the thing is, this is only going to get worse, guys. This is only going to get worse because there's so much popularity now with the field. You can't switch on your TV or open up a paper without seeing paranormal snippets or paranormal stories or articles. It's exploded once again, and I think it's now time, because we are such a small island, I think it's time to kind of govern certain aspects of the paranormal. I'm not saying everything because it's unfair, because there's many groups that just go out and go to abandoned places. I've got a lot of respect for them because they don't take public and things like that. But I think when you've got the public involved and you've got their needs and interests, I think you have to go through a process of governing. I think that's going to be the way soon. I'm not saying it's going to happen now, but I can see it in the future. And, if we don't do that, I believe that these sort of things that's happened in the rise today will happen again. So Definitely. It's like people's insurance certificate. A lot of venues, all they say is, we want to see your insurance. Mm-hmm. Anybody can pull an insurance certificate off the internet. Exactly.
Do these venues check these insurance certificates up? Do they phone the companies?
Probably not.
What happens if something goes off?
But the thing is that all that insurance is public liability insurance. That's only covering their arses through their insurance. That's not saying that you're taking. I can't say it, but horrible people along to your events or whatever, or members of your team. That's not governing that. No. So the net is wide open for a lot of damage to our paranormal community. And I think with recent things with Elias Sanchez and people like that, I truly believe we kind of need to get our heads together as a community, because we are a community. We are all in it for the same reason. Let's get our heads together and think of something to kind of stamp all this stuff out.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of any other profession that deals with the public on the extent that paranormal people do, that doesn't have to abide by a set of rules, regulations, and CRB checks.
Exactly. It's dangerous, isn't it? And not only is it dangerous to the public, but it's dangerous to the teams as well.
Yeah. definitely.
And their credentials and their people.
So Maxine's just made a good point, but sadly, at some point, it will take someone to be seriously affected emotionally and physically to actually react as a community.
Yeah. Well, this is what I'm saying again. It is going to take that, and I think that is society all over. Unfortunately, that is humanity all over. Unfortunately, there's the masses are sheep. Let's be honest. I'm sorry, but they are. And they're very easily led, and I think nowadays you kind of need to take control of the situation there and then. I really do, and it's like Maxine said, it is going to take something horrific to happen, and it shouldn't be like that.
No,
it really shouldn't.
Like you say, it's humanity. They wait until the catastrophe happens before they act on it, even though they know it's going to inevitably happen at some point. They bury their heads in the sand and wait till it does, and then decide to act. Whereas people should be more proactive and prevent it happening.
Act on it. Yeah.
Well, that's all the serious stuff.
Oh, God! Thank God for that. I've got to go another gin tea. Bartender.
Let's chuck one of the usual easy questions out there, mate. If you could investigate anywhere in the world, where and why?
Alcatraz. Purely for the horrific conditions they were in, the historic nature of that place. That, and I want to go to America. There you go, William.
That's quick and simple, that one. Okay. Where's the best venue that you've ever investigated?
Well, that's difficult. Bugger.
I hate that question.
Yeah, that's really, really hard because I've got so many that kind of fall into different remits. And Nottingham Town Hall's up there, strangely enough. Church Farm Museum in Skegness is possibly one of my favourite locations ever. Crikey. I don't know.
Well, I like Church Farm Museum. I think people don't think it's that active, but there's a hell of a lot goes off there.
I personally don't care whether a place is active or not. I love the history. I yearn for the history. So, I mean, that place is perfect because it's had so many families live and die in that area, and it just makes the mind. It blows my mind of the families that have been there. That have been through horrific times and good times and sad. You know, it's special. Tower of London. Would have been a good one.
Yeah, definitely. It's where do you see the future? Ignoring what we've just been talking about, but where do you see the future of the paranormal?
I'd like to see more control. Personally, on private groups, I'd like to see more control over that. I've seen some really bad things with regards to public events, with regards to private events. But yeah, I'd like to see more control, really. And also, which is one of the things that I've always wanted to do, and Steve Merra has actually done it now. He's created something called OneStella, which is an amazing database that people can join, upload, without the ridicule and all that sort of thing. He's created kind of a database amongst other ufologists and ghost hunters. He's done it, and I've always wanted to do that because there's not many databases out there that kind of cater for that. Yeah. So you can go in, join in, chat with people, you can upload your pictures, you can share things without those crappy social media groups that some, pick and backbite at. There's none of that on here because, you have to go through a process and things of joining and whatever. So he's done that, and, hats off to him. And he's won a few shows, Sean. You must get him on.
Hey, good guy, is he? It's like people posting stuff on social media. Do you think a lot of what goes off on social media is down to sheer jealousy?
Yes and no. I think it's a double-edged sword, really. I think some people, like I mentioned, start up at the blink of an eye. So they've got all the equipment. That they don't know what they're doing, let's be honest. They've started a group. Hey, you've got to start somewhere. But they kind of jump on the bandwagon as everyone else. And they're very quick to bite and judge, and they kind of don't sit back and see the bigger picture. And I think fundamentally, you don't get that until you've been an investigator or researcher for many years. I mean, I'm going to hold my hands up here. I used to be one of those people that used to kind of, don't get me wrong, I never used to bully anyone or, jump at or on social media, but I always used to question things, which was just my natural investigative mind, Yeah. But I soon quickly realised and learned you can't do that on social media. You can't put your personal experience out there or your personal thought out there, because people are just going to rip you to shreds, and it's so sad. It is sad.
It is. I mean, we used to, past Matty, when we first started on social media, we used to post every photo we thought that something might be in it, every video, and some of the arguments we used to get in were unreal. And it got to that point where I thought, you know what, it's not worth it. I've had enough of arguing.
You know what I've seen in the past probably 8 months? Some really good investigators have actually left the field completely because of this, and it's so sad. And do you know what? It's places like Paraforce and other conventions that kind of bring together the people. That I tell you what, that's another thing. There's not enough conventions like that, and I think we are trailing behind the Americans with this, because they have bloody conventions on a Tuesday and Wednesday, for God's sake. We've got nothing like that. We are big enough now to have that and to have that capability of doing. And the amount of people I spoke to at Paraforce, some people who had not been involved in the paranormal and were neutral, they found it refreshing, because it took away the veil of social media, and you was actually speaking to the people face to face, and there was no kind of no backbiting, there was no arguments. It was there, it was raw, it happened. It was fantastic, and I think that's another thing I'd like to see in the future is more conventions within the UK. Because there is not enough, and I think things like that really do help people. They really do.
Yeah, it definitely. Like I say, there's a Know Where You Go weekend to bring everybody together. People can meet the people that they've seen on TV, on social media, and talk to them face to face. And I think from my experience, what people have said to me afterwards is, example, Barry Fitzgerald. That was amazing. He's right down to earth. He's like a normal guy. It's like, and I think it breaks them barriers down. Some convention, like you say, there should be more.
I think so. Sean, I hope you don't mind, but I'm gonna have to say hello to some people, because there's the time, mate, and it's just flown. That
it does, hasn't it?
Have I been babbling? No, I know a lot of my listeners say I babble, but I think that's up the mic. That I just want to say quite a few thank yous, really, because back in November 2016, I started my own radio show like yourself, and I think without that, I think I'd have probably left the field altogether. And it's thanks to Carl Waugh, who gave me the opportunity to do this Pure Paranormal Radio Show. And, of course, I won that amazing award at Paraforce. It kind of pulled me back away from turning my back on it all, because I was one of those people who were literally ready to just leave it all. And I put a lot of work and effort into research. And, when I started that show, it just opened up a massive array of fantastic people, and I'm so thankful for it. And I've met my co-host Barry Frankish, and it's just I've met so many amazing people. And the thing is, starting that show, I've been inundated with bloody guest bloody appearances. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not a celebrity, but I'm not complaining. No, it's amazing. I know people like North Knots and Yorkshire Ghost Hunts and Brooks Paranormal, Afterlife Solutions. The list goes on and on. But it's just amazing because that radio show has kind of pulled me and made me realise there's more to it than books, more to it than social media. I think the paranormal is just about the people. I really do.
Yeah.
Listen to the experiences, enjoy people's company. It's fantastic, and I can't thank you, all the listeners enough for all that. I'm not crying.
I agree with you, mate. It's like I say, it brings you back from the break. There's been a few times I've thought I've had enough of this. I can't be doing this anymore. Too much backstabbing and arguments going off, and then something happens, like I say, like yourself, the radio show. With me, it was Paraforce, and now the radio show. Yeah. And it just sort of rekindles your faith in the paranormal. There is good people out there.
Of course, yeah, I believe so. And I think hopefully people listening tonight think they're going to get the bloody heads together and let's do something about this. It sounds bad, but I don't want to kind of govern everything. That's not what I want to do. But I think in recent light of things that's happened today and other things, I believe that we need to act because the minute the paranormal field is tarred, and I hate to see that. Because I know a lot of you people listening tonight and yourself, Sean, you're good people, and you know. We need to do something. I don't know what. Answers on a postcard. I don't know what, mate. I don't know. But something needs to change drastically. It really does.
Definitely. I've just got to quickly mention, because we've run out of time and I completely forgot. Following my show at 9 o'clock, we've got Penny Morgan with Haunted Histories. And she'll be talking all about the Rhodes Hotel with Jay and Teresa Lynch. So if you just refresh the page when me and Tom have finished our waffling, and then have a listen to Penny's show. Parasite are also running a competition. So it's on the Parasite Radio group page, and the competition is for 2 tickets for an investigation at HMP Shepton Mallet on the 6th of April. All the terms and conditions are on there and the details of how to enter.
Can I enter, Sean? Is that all right? Or?
Of course you can, mate. Yeah. Pop over and have a go, definitely.
Will do.
Well, we've got about 3 minutes left. It's flown by, hasn't it? This has.
It has, but I tell you what, it's been a pleasure. It really has. Can I just have another quick mention? And it's a shame. But my friend Joanna Cowell, the reluctant ghost hunter, is doing her first ghost hunt at the amazing Guildhall in Leicester. And she is AKA the reluctant ghost hunter because she's very sweet, but she's doing her very first thing, and I can't. It's on a Thursday night, and if people want to do it, I think tickets are still available. Just go on their page, Reluctant Ghost Hunter. I think it's on the 17th of May. It's called the Spirited Soiree. So you can have a bottle of port and some cheese and dine with the dead. Nice. It should be good. There you go, Joanna.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you on tonight, mate. It's been brilliant.
It's been great. Hopefully you can have me back on, mate, and hopefully people don't fall asleep. So.
They're still all chatting away in the chat room. Next week, I've got Johnny Houser back. A lot of you probably listened to his first show, and he's asked me if he can do another show on conspiracy theories, which he's very big on. Yes. So everybody in the chat room, if you tune in next week, and then that's going to be very interesting with Johnny Houser and his conspiracy theories. So we're virtually out of time, mate. I'm definitely going to have you back on again. Fantastic. So much to chat about.
I know. No, thank you so much, Sean, and thank you to all.
What's it been like being on the other end, by the way?
Very weird.
Yeah.
The G&T helped. It did help.
Oh,
so there you go.
That's good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you to all your listeners. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on, mate. And with that, I want to thank every single one of you for listening tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the show. And like I say, I hope you'll tune in again next week when I'll be speaking to Johnny Houser. Penny's going to be really chuffed tonight that we've kept an eye on the time and we haven't run over, which is a bit of a miracle. Normally run over a little bit. So once again, thank you to Tomo and thank you to all your listeners. And back over to Kerry.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.